Are you ready to get your feet wet? Because this is the Knowledge Pool, hosted by Gathering Information. We're here to bring you a casual conversation between friends about everything to do with collecting, trading, and playing Magic the Gathering.
I am Tams.
I am Step.
And I am Laura.
So put on your bathing suits and dive right into the Knowledge Pool.
Hi.
See, I've started every single week so far, so it's your turn.
There have been literally 2 weeks.
Yes, so every single week has been me.
I don't think you started last week because I think last week was random, the chitter chat about the cat.
That's true. Salem started last week. Why are you taking credit for Draft Cat?
Well, he doesn't count. He doesn't have fingers or toes.
The business, the company is named for him.
He is the mascot.
No, he literally doesn't count. He counts like zeros and ones. Is there food or is there not food?
Look, now you're just being discriminatory against our feline brethren.
It's true. So hi everyone.
Hello.
Welcome to the Knowledge Pool.
Yes.
Now you know all about CADs.
And we do take this podcast, of course, very seriously.
Very seriously.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Hey, I have show notes.
That's right. They're very extensive.
Wow.
You can't
that
see
is
how
the
long.
least extensive show notes I've ever seen from you.
I know, right? Well, but
Good job, Tams.
to be fair, there's a crumpled piece of paper somewhere where they were all willy-nilly and I couldn't handle it, so I rewrote them.
Jumbled?
Yes. Now they're all together, so we have lots to talk about today.
Oh, yeah.
Some exciting stuff, some interesting stuff. Yeah.
I
have
don't
show
even know
notes.
what's on the show notes.
And you can't read my pretty handwriting, so you're just going to have to let us lead.
All right, I'm fine with that.
That looks the way he likes it.
I know. All right, so let's start at the top. So, standard bannings.
Yes. Let's talk about the fact that there are no changes to the ban restriction list.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah. So obviously it's more complicated than that, but honestly, there are a lot of other people talking about it, and
We have literally nothing to add because we don't play standard.
well,
Not
much,
much.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that there's not really a constructive discussion that can be had at this point, just because I think that everybody's past the point of a rational discussion, and there's nothing we can do to change it at the moment anyway.
Well, do you think that people, because there was a loud contingent of people worried about the stability of standard.
Mm-hmm.
So do you think this will have laid some of their fears to rest and maybe they'll cool their jets a little bit now?
No.
Oh, Magic players, you're awesome.
So what's next?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. We want to talk about stuff going down with Channel Fireball.
Yeah, literally the day after we recorded last week's podcast, it was announced that Channel Fireball is teaming up with a production company and is having exclusive control over organizing and planning GPs of next year.
That seems problematic,
Why?
That sounds like a monopoly.
which we don't have any track with in Canada. We don't like monopolies here,
We tend not to prefer them, that's true.
except if you're a bank, but
That's not the point. So yes, obviously Channel Fireball has definitely been one of the up-and-coming major players in this type of production.
they haven't been up and coming for years.
I mean, in the
They've
last
been,
year or
like,
two, they've been really upping their coverage game,
Yeah.
is what I mean specifically. So they've been trying to do a lot of things that are innovating, and they've been trying to be creative about it and just increase the quality.
I'm not sure, but it seems like they have upped their coverage to the exact extent that Wizards has dialed back their coverage. Like, they seem to just be taking over coverage anyway,
I mean,
to some degree. You know?
I don't think you're necessarily wrong, is the thing. But my main concern is something that has been mentioned by others, which is just that they're going to be doing this worldwide.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's... Even in Canada? Like,
Even
what
in
about...
Canada, even in Japan. So Haruya is no longer going to be running their GPs.
Wow.
Yeah, so there are certainly there's the potential for some international pitfalls regarding not only legal issues about how Magic is gambling or not treated as gambling based on how you do structure of prizes and stuff like that, but also just the environment, the culture around how Magic GPs have always been done in different countries, but also just of those specific countries themselves. So from what I can gather, most people are kind of cautiously hopeful because there's not much we can do. Obviously,
No.
the contract has already been signed. Unless they fall down drunk in the job, they're obviously going to have this control for the next year and on at least a trial basis.
It does seem like the kind of thing that Wizards likes to try, and then
Sure.
if it doesn't work out, then there's no harm in having tried it, I guess. And it's only 1 year, I guess. And they could be great.
Now, up to this point, have they been doing mostly North American and or European coverage?
Yeah,
GPs, yeah.
I think so, yeah.
And they've been doing a decent job so far?
Yeah.
They do a decent job. I've heard people complain that they are more expensive than other people's GPs, but also their quality of the experience is supposed to be really high, so...
Trade-offs.
Yeah. I guess we just wait and see what happens.
Yes.
It was them that did...
Vegas last year with the Modern Masters. Or not last year, 2015, I think, with the Modern Masters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was well received, except that people complained it was too expensive.
Yes.
So...
And I don't know if you've heard they are doing another GP in Vegas this year.
And it's
another one that
250% in fees.
Can't go to.
Because specifically they continue to choose the weekend where there is a massive music convention. And so all the hotels are booked.
Lame.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I've seen a lot of people's complaints. Something like 250% increase in costs over 2015, which means that most people are like, no.
Especially if you're traveling from out of town. That's pretty prohibitive.
For us, there's...
Like, for us, it's a big deal to go to the Toronto GP, which is literally a 2-hour drive.
Yeah.
So, I guess we'll see how it...
We will have to see how it shakes out.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it'll be great. I mean, one thing for Channel Fireball, they are certainly well known in the community. Like, many of the staff members are actively involved in the community. Everybody has, knows who they are at the very least. So, if they keep up the same responsiveness that they have had in the past, then this could go to positive places.
My main interaction with Channel Fireball, and interaction is a strange word, but I watch a lot of their videos on YouTube, and I am consistently annoyed by the placement of their ads, because they come up in the middle of games. Like, they don't seem to care about the actual quality of the experience, and more about just making sure that as many ads as possible get onto their videos.
That's
in the middle of a draft pack.
That's a YouTube thing. There's only like 3 choices for ads, so most people put it in the middle because
most
it means
people
that
just
people
put
are
them
going
on
to
the front end and not in the middle.
I've been seeing a lot of middle stuff lately because it does mean that people are more likely to actually run the ad, because that's the problem, is people aren't running the ads.
Well, and you also don't make that much money off of watching it, or off of playing ads on YouTube these days.
No,
so
that's true.
Is the extra ad in the middle really worth the loss of experience quality for your viewers?
I wouldn't know. I don't watch ads.
Yeah.
I don't know. You should tweet out at them, because it may not be something they're even cognizant of, because if nobody has said, hey, this is because for me, it doesn't bother me at all. So
it bothers me a great deal when someone's in the middle of a sentence and then they cut to an ad.
I'm used to television with commercials, so...
Yeah, but that's not in the middle of a sentence. Somebody cuts to a commercial.
Fair enough. But, again, if most people are like me and are like, so whatever...
Are you used to commercials, though? When was the last time that you watched
When I was at my mom's house, not that long ago. We don't have a television here, so...
No, Netflix
we don't
doesn't have commercials.
Netflix doesn't, but I don't have ad blockers on my computer, so... I do see some.
By choice.
By choice. Absolutely by choice. But maybe you should tweet out at them and say that...
Maybe I will. I should have some interaction with...
Because they just may not even know. Or... Because the people who actually put it online are probably not the people who are actually drafting. They probably have editors.
It depends on who you're talking about. But yeah. Okay.
So.
Fair enough.
So anyways, so we want to talk a little bit about... things in Magic for us coming up.
Do we?
Yeah, we do. I know it's coming up next Tuesday.
Yes, we have our league finals, our top 8 championship.
I could
finale.
be sitting next to 2 top 8 people.
You are sitting next to 2 top 8 people, surely.
Probably.
Have confidence.
It hasn't been officially announced, but we're pretty sure that you both... Well, we know Laura's in top 8. And we're pretty
for lack
sure.
of competition, I'll probably end up in the top 8.
Probably. We've been having an interesting problem the last couple of leagues where people who don't believe that they're going to make top 8 or who aren't happy with their decks have been dropping out in larger numbers than they had in the past. So it's just making it more so that if you continue to get your matches in, you are likely to hit top 8 simply because of the people who are in the top 8. Usually at least 1 or 2 people can't make it just for scheduling reasons. The store owner usually makes top 8. He doesn't play in the tournament, so that's automatically a top 9 anyway.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, and sometimes you just have gross decks, right, Step?
Hey, I may have a gross deck, but I have averaged a 2-2 record.
Fair enough.
Well,
so
when the people who are coming each time are just the people who feel that they can place in the top 8, the quality of the decks tends to be pretty high. So even just 2-2ing is pretty good.
that's a fair point.
Yep, that's exciting though.
So yeah, I am very happy with my deck though, especially after the trades.
Yeah, I was gonna say your trades this week were pretty sweet.
So what have you transitioned your deck into, Step?
It's exactly what it was when I started, except better.
How so?
I flirted with Agro for a while there, with blue-black Agro and all my little death touchers and whatnot. But after acquiring a second Gearseeker Serpent and a second Marionette Master, I have gone all the way into combo control.
Right, so what's your big game plan?
My big game plan is drop a wall of death touchers, and I've got a couple of white pacifism effects, and wait until I get a Marionette Master so I can sack like 4 Renegade maps to her and just win.
And how many of her are you running?
I'm running 2 Marionette Masters. I'm running 4 Renegade maps, 2 Prophetic Prisms, 3 Defiant Salvagers so I can sack, servos and other such things.
How many Gear Seekers?
2.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
With enough mana, hopefully, to make them unblockable. So,
hopefully, yeah. And yeah, I was initially running my blue-white deck, but then just for last week, I decided to try out blue-black, so I opened a couple of sweet black cards. And it worked out much better than I thought it was going to. Most of my good removal is in white, so that's why I thought that was the better deck. But in black, I do have a Yehenni's Expertise, the -3/-3 to everything. I also have the massive 6-drop Demon that gives -2/-2 to everything. Ooh. And board wipes are good. Who knew?
Yeah, those things are difficult for my deck because servos are unfortunately 1 toughness.
They are 1 toughness, that's true.
So if you can get that before I drop a Marionette Master, then that's problematic.
I think maybe one of the best examples of how my deck wins was a game that I had yesterday. I was playing against another player who had Gaunty. So he Gaunties into my Whale. My 6/4 can be bounced back to my hand. But he casts it, which means that if he bounces it, it will come back to my hand. So he is much more incentivized not to do so.
Right.
So he ends up trading it for my Heart of Kirin.
Seems like a good...
Which is a good trade.
That's a 2 for 0 on his side, so...
And then I play my demon, and I return the whale to my hand, or to the battlefield, tapped, and get more energy, and then I can keep bouncing it, and it's pretty much an infinite combination, simply because with the whale, it produces more energy than is required to return it back to your hand, and the demon requires energy in order to return things to the from the graveyard to the battlefield.
Combo.
It worked out, like I said, much better than I thought it was going to. So now I'm kind of torn about what I'm going to run for the finale.
I think you should run that.
Yeah?
Yeah. It's very strong against any of the short game plan decks, like the aggro decks.
That's true.
And
I also have a fair number of the Black Death Touchers and such.
Because you've got a big flyer, well, 2 big flyers,
yep,
as your win cons, that can fly over things like Tuskers and Planeswalkers and whatever.
Of which there are some in the top 8, yes.
And walls of little things, too. So, yeah, I really think that's very strong.
Yeah, I mean, that was the plan of my blue-white deck, too. I had multiples of the 3/2 tap down your stuff cards, and I had other flyers and things like that. But
the other thing I added back into my deck, because initially I took it out because it wasn't performing. It was always the one card that I didn't want to draw. But now that I have a much more consistent long game strategy, I added the mechanized production back in.
Yes, I noticed that when we played yesterday.
I won with 8 servos. I won with 8 Ethereum cells. I felt really good. I drew 8 extra cards off of all the prisms I was drawing.
Oh, you're terrible.
They got destroyed, but I didn't care because I was drawing extra cards.
Yeah.
Felt really good.
Sure. So that's what we're looking forward to for Tuesday.
Yeah.
But in the more short term...
In the Friday short term?
In the Friday short term...
Yeah, Steph and I are going drafting.
Yup.
F&M.
Mm-hmm.
Modern
On
Masters.
the 17th.
Yeah. Oh, St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to have to wear green.
I believe we mentioned that the last time we talked about the Modern Masters.
I don't have to because my heritage is Irish.
Really have to try not to go green because I know that's going to be what I want to do.
He's so nerdy. Yeah.
Well, now green is historically mid-range.
That's true. But that's not why I would consider
No, he
going
likes
green.
to...
Maybe I am a Johnny.
It makes his brain calm to, go to...
Fill in patterns.
To go to game day and he's running a Bant deck and to dress in Bant colors because it makes sense.
More usually teamer, but yeah.
So then we are all doing a Modern Masters draft on Sunday.
And I think I'm going to do the exact same thing on Sunday that I'm planning on doing on Friday, which is...
Forcing mono red?
No. Big G for life, man. I'm...
The G Daddy?
That's right. Big G Daddy. Grizzlebrand. Bring it.
Well, you don't get to keep the Grizzlebrand that you're opening on Sunday.
No, I have to
Thanks
give it back
to
to
a
Mr. Friend.
Who's opening a box, and instead of just cracking all the packs, decide to organize a draft at his home. Is it at his home?
Yeah,
Yes.
he's
Which is, of course, the correct way to open a box of Modern Masters.
That's
Absolutely.
right. He's a sweetheart, so
is
it's going to be
obviously made for
super
drafting.
fun. Yeah, for sure. I'm so looking forward. Friday, I'm looking forward to opening value of some sort, and it's going to be one of those just draft what makes sense. But
I want to open value, but even more, I want to open Craterhoof Behemoth.
Oh,
yeah.
Sick. Yep.
You see, Sunday, what I really want to do is draft a blue-black control mill deck and sit right next to our friend the host and take all of his blue, because that's pretty much what he drafts, and he makes these ridiculous blue control decks.
Isn't that the exact deck you hate?
Yes, and nobody will expect it from me at all. It would be
I'm trying
amazing.
to remember who all is going to be there. I mean, we're going to be there.
Yeah.
And I think red might just be open.
I may end up going
table.
red, yeah.
Although, I think... I don't know if we've mentioned names on this podcast. I think we have. Yeah. I think if Evan's going to be there, then he's probably going red.
That's
just
possible.
because he usually does.
He usually just kind of does what he feels like. If he opens a sweetware, he'll often just go around it.
And if he
fair
gets
enough.
a ridiculous corner bizarre card, he's like,
he'll absolutely go for it.
Sneep, that's mine, and I'm going to make it work. And he usually does, because he's hilarious.
Yes.
So it's going to be a fun
Oh,
group.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I can't wait to get my hands on something. And it's different, right? We've been playing the same thing for a while, so this is different. And what I like is that there are more cards in this Modern Masters set that I'm familiar with than in past things.
Sure.
So I'm excited to at least not be going in going,
It's funny because as a week, this week has been full of nerd days.
Yeah.
So I keep wanting to try to play Magic associated with said nerd days, but after Friday that's over, so I get my Magic versatility back, I guess.
That's good.
I'm lame.
You are such a nerd. So this week has been full of Magic. We've already done a ton of stuff. We have, you and I, Step, and Laura, separately, we've all drafted on MitGo. We did the cube that's out right now.
I don't know what it is, the Modern Cube?
It is the Modern Cube.
It's funny that they would have a Modern Cube right before
Modern Masters.
But I guess there's different stuff in it. I mean, isn't the headliner for the modern cube the Alt-Art Snapcaster? Isn't that the dude running on the field that when you open MitGo? Isn't that the image?
Don't really pay attention.
I have no idea. We don't
Never
pay
mind.
attention to this thing, kind of thing.
I don't do visual details.
Fair enough. So we have a draft video on Card Advantage MTG YouTube channel, which you should go and check
Links in the
out.
description.
But Laura, what did you do in Cube?
Well, I drafted mostly black Absan, but I actually didn't like the modern cube very much.
Oh no?
Would we like to discuss it now, or did you guys want to talk about what you drafted first?
Well, I really liked red in the modern cube.
Of course you did.
So we decided that, what was our...
It's funny because we start the video by saying we need a palette cleanser because the last 3 videos have been black and or red.
Yeah, so we want something else.
And then we audible right into mono red in the cube.
What was our pack one pick one that we were like,
I don't even
let's
remember.
just go...
Was it Bonfire? I think it may have been Bonfire, and we're not even playing Bonfire.
No, we took that way later.
Really?
Yeah, it was a creature of some sort, and it was really good. It was either a creature or a...
But you can find out if you watch the draft video.
Yes, absolutely. So
Anyway.
we went mono red, and red was
Ridiculously
so
open.
open. 3 Chandras, a Sarkhan, a Kiki-Jiki, which we just grabbed as a creature because we, by this point, needed creatures because
we're
we were
not
like,
even playing.
burn, 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 burn. Oh my god, look at all the burn.
It's funny. We should have really... You know what? Actually, we have all the cards. We should test out Big Stompy red in a free play round.
Can we? Because it's cube. We don't get to keep the cards.
Oh, right. So yeah, we probably can't do that. We
Dang
can
it.
make proxies or whatever.
Yeah, we did. We built 2 separate decks. One was smaller creatures with big stuff at the top end, and the other one was just all big, crazy.
It was
stuff.
there was a red rush and a red control deck that were both usable out of the cards we drafted, but we ended up doing the red rush deck because our round 1 opponent didn't play anything but a mana rock until turn 5, and by that
that
time
is a
he was
problem
dead.
against
Oh,
mono red.
it was gross. I felt bad.
And,
like,
and you're the aggro player.
I know, because we were just like, stomp, stomp, stomp,
It was
stomp.
funny. Tams was like, this deck doesn't look that powerful. What if we get to the late game? What are we going to do? And I'm like, we're not getting to the late game. And then by turn 4, we had
It was a
done
turn 4 kill.
was it a turn 4
Yes.
kill?
Don't you remember? You're like, turn 4, I don't remember what it was. You're like, that was a turn 4 kill. We were like, oh. Right.
That's,
Oh, right. It was 4 to the
pretty
face.
good.
Yes, because we kind of went creature, soul bonded creature, other creature.
Lightning Mauler wasn't our pack 1.
No.
It's not pack 1-able.
No, it was something decent. I don't remember. We'll find out. You guys can watch it
It
anyway.
was also not Goblin Guide because
No.
that wheeled to us.
Yeah.
Well,
In
that's
which-
how you want to get it.
Yeah.
So first round was amazing. Second round. Oh, second round. Second round was not that great.
You know, flooding can be okay in Cube, but not when you're mono red.
No. We just didn't find anything to dump our mana into. If we had found, something that we could...
Like a bonfire of the damned.
Yeah.
Which wasn't in the deck.
We didn't run it because honestly, we just...
We didn't want to get that far.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
but-
It would have been in the big stompy deck, but just not in this one.
And then round 3 we won't talk about because you can go and watch the video if you want to see whether we managed to eke out better than our average 1 and 2.
On
Yeah.
Mitgo videos.
Yeah.
Yes, it's definitely worth watching because it is funny.
So did you guys enjoy the cube then?
Oh,
Yes.
I loved it. I
Yeah.
want to play
But
again.
I
before.
also loved the creature cube when they did that on MitGo.
Which was also not very as popular, I think, as the regular one.
It was weird because the creature cube actually ended up having all these broken non-creature strategies.
Right.
Even though it was the
creature.
creature cube.
Yeah.
So we played, excuse me, we played black-white creatures and just stomped everybody because we had all the best black and white creatures.
Sure.
But yeah.
The thing that I was a little trepidatious about was the fact I think we talked about on last episode with Mitgo, the leaguing system for Cube, is you can run into somebody else who has Kiki-Jiki, and you're like, no, I'm supposed to be the only one.
Yeah,
but
I think one of our opponents was almost obviously on twin combo, and I'm like, but we got the Kiki-Jiki. Oh, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So
but they didn't get that far anyway. So.
No, we killed his Pester Man.
So that's definitely part of the reason that I didn't enjoy it as much.
Fair enough.
So first of all, just playing the cards that are legal and modern is not really what I want to be doing in a cube. I want to be playing like vintage cards because I don't often get the chance to play old, powerful cards, and I don't consider many of the modern cards to be of that quality.
Fair enough.
So I just had a bit less fun because it was slightly lower powered than the usual cube is.
Do you like powered cubes?
They're all right. I quite like the shop cube that we have, which is based quite a bit on the Mitgo Legacy Cube, just it is not powered, and there have been a couple of substitutions made, like the least powerful creature basically has been swapped out for one each of the Gear Hulks and stuff like that, so just updates and things. I really like cubes like that, where there are a lot of different strategies, a lot of really old cards that you don't often get the chance to play with, or even see played, and a lot of different strategies, that sort of thing. So that was one of my concerns with it. Another was absolutely the league thing. I mentioned before, I don't really like the league system specifically for cubes. For drafts, I'm actually much more fine with it. But for cubing, it is so important to know what's going around the table, to know what decks everybody's building, to know that you're the only mono red player at the table, for example.
Yeah, because most cubes are singleton, right?
Yes.
So, yeah, if everyone decides to go Dirtles and you're the mono red player and you know you can beat them, and then, for instance, you come up against mono red in the finals, that's not the cube experience you want.
No, you've built your deck around having a not terrible idea of what's been passed around, what everybody's playing, that sort of thing. Right. So I think for me, probably just the overall problem is that I consider cube to be like a specific experience. Like for me, every time I've cubed, and I've cubed like several dozens of times in person. For me, when I cube, like I go to the shop or I go to a friend's place or something like that, there are anywhere from like 3 other people to 7 other people. Usually we cap out at 8. And everybody's having a good time. The cards are going around the table. You get a really good idea of what everybody's drafting. You can decide what you want to draft. The cards are all really powerful. Like even, the cubes that we've played that are not specifically based on the Mitgo cube include a lot of older cards. Ones that even I have never seen before, and I cube quite a bit. Yeah. And knowing that it is the singleton format, and it's just an experience for me, and doing it online, whilst fun, killed a few hours. I enjoyed myself while I was doing it. But then when I finished, I was like, that didn't really feel like cube to me. That's
fair. I guess Tams and I draft together, usually. So we get that camaraderie experience just from us against the rest of the pod.
Sure.
But I completely get the feel from Cube of wanting the closed system environment, and I'm not good enough that I want to go into an 8-4 and then just lose the first round.
Right.
Because I also sometimes like doing ridiculous stuff in Cube.
Getting the chance to play at all 3 games is absolutely one of the good things about a league.
Yeah.
But if there were the option between doing leagues and not having to wait, and doing a pod and having to wait, I would absolutely choose a pod for a cube.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, because 8-4s for us are just, things like we forced mono red. I mean, we didn't have to force because...
it was open.
But we didn't choose
we forced mono red in the first pack, and then by that point, people get the message.
Sure.
Yeah, but we didn't choose to. There was some sweet black that would have been very complimentary, but we were like, no, we're gonna force mono red. But if we were in an 8-4, we would have been much more drafting to the what was coming up, because you don't want to get bumped after the first, especially when you're putting the videos up online.
Mm-hmm.
I think I do want to do another cube draft and hopefully not go mono red unless we open sulfuric vortex. I don't even know if it's in that cube, but we really need to get out of this black red zone that we're in.
Force Simic.
I mean, Simic. I'm okay.
Not a bad idea. I don't even know what's in the cube though. Like I did not look specifically so that I would have the surprise.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I like not knowing.
We were weeping as we saw things like Whip of Erebos whip by. And we're like, no, come back. Or the Bow of Nylea. I'm like, no.
Is Bow in there?
Yes.
I like the Bow of Nylea.
I love it. It's so good.
I have drafted it in the Theros foil block cube, and it was gross.
That's the reason you think I like mono black, is because I like mono black in Theros.
You do. Steph and I were sitting very close to each other as we drafted the Theros block cube, and we ended up both running heavily black.
Yes, although you were black green and I was black white.
I have two things to say: Whip of Erebos and Gary.
Yeah.
Grey Merchant of Asphodel.
Yeah.
Like, oh, so gross and awesome.
I mean, what's the Farika's... Not Farika's Mender. What's the black green
Cure, Disciple.
3/4, 4/3,
Gorgon.
whatever it is.
Oh yeah, that's sweet too.
The thing that you really liked when you had it in your deck.
Yes.
I don't remember.
I believe that was my pack one pick one, because I had no experience with Theros, having never drafted it prior. So I pack one picked one, what looked to be a sweet and powerful gold card, and decided I was just going to go for it, and it worked out fine. Because you were passing me green, and the folks to the folks to my left were passing me all of the black that you were planning on for pack 2.
Yep.
So that worked out pretty tidily.
Well, for me, through Theros, all the way through, they did that Heroes, what was it, the Heroes Path?
Yep.
I was black through the whole thing. All of my
and I
pre-release packs were black because...
Did Marshall start talking to you through your...
Through my... Yes, that's why I did it.
I think I was Bant through it. I think I started in green and then went white and then
yes,
went
you
blue
did,
for the
because
last
that was when you were going through your Bant phase.
Yeah, well...
Going through.
Yeah, right?
Now... Funny thing, I know this is really off topic, but the difference between a Theros draft and a Theros block cube draft was very pointed.
Oh, yeah, you told me.
Blue-white in Theros draft, even in full block draft, was very, very good. Whereas in a singleton block cube is not quite so good, because you can't get...
for Hero of Aros and...
Or like 3 Sky Guards or whatever. You know, you're stuck with one of each of the things that you can happen to get. Whereas there seems like there's a lot better black stuff and green stuff. Just
that is true.
On average.
Yeah.
All right, so moving on.
Yeah.
Next topic. That's okay.
Do we have a next topic?
We do.
Yes, we do. It's what we were going to talk about at the end of last week.
Oh.
Yeah.
We were going to delve a little bit deeper into aggro mid-range control.
Right. The thing that we didn't have the time to do because we got busy talking about other stuff.
Yeah, we have lots of time this week, though. So we're going to dive a little bit deeper into the archetypes.
Okay. So if you recall from our first episode, we all consider ourselves players of one of these particular types, and none of us really overlap that much.
Yeah.
So we thought it would be interesting to just talk about what it is that we like and don't like about the types of decks.
Sounds good. Who goes first?
How about the aggro player? The
Why
simplest.
Are you looking at me?
The aggro player always goes first.
You think I'm the simplest? Oh, honey.
The aggro player always plays first, right?
Oh,
Right.
honey, no. It's really weird. There are long and short answers. I will give you the short answer. I started enjoying aggro most, and I mentioned this before when we talked about commander formats, because I really enjoy short, powerful games. I don't even mind if my opponent is doing stuff. They can do stuff too, because otherwise I kind of feel bad. But when games start to get super long, I have problems with staying on task at times. I have ADD, And I can get hyper-focused, which is helpful. But also, I just find that when games start to grind on, I get restless. And I get frustrated. That's the thing, is I start to get frustrated, and it affects my play.
Yeah.
So, for me, fast in, fast out is good for my mental state. I also enjoy aggressive mechanics. I loved Blood Rush, which was RTR block, I think. Yes?
Yep, that was the gruel mechanic, red-green.
Oh, I like, and here's the thing that's weird about it. The reason why I enjoyed it so much was because there was choice.
What is the Blood Rush mechanic? For those who didn't play back then.
You have the choice. Do you know the actual definition better than I do?
I remember Blood Rush very well because I always messed it up.
Yeah, I know why.
Only when you are attacking, if you have a creature with Blood Rush in your hand, you can pay the Blood Rush cost and discard that creature to give target attacking creature plus power plus toughness and any relevant abilities of the creature. So, like, if you have a 2/2 with Blood Rush, you pay the Blood Rush cost and give target attacking creature +2/+2 until end of turn.
Plus whatever abilities the creature had.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure.
So the Blood Rush creatures were often 3/1s or 5/2.
Aggressively costed.
Like, yeah.
Yeah, but what I really, really enjoyed, and this is why I don't dislike playing mid-range. It's not my favorite, but I don't dislike it because it has that element of pivotability. Like, okay, it's just not doing one thing. You can either use it that way, or you can just cast it as a creature. You have a choice. There's choice there.
But with the Blood Rush mechanic specifically, there was it was only an aggressive mechanic.
Yes, if it only worked on attack.
It did. And that's when you used it. But my point is, like, if you happen to get drawn into a late game, you're off your mana at the beginning of the game, and you get pulled in, you're like, crap. You do have...
You can then play a 5/2?
Yeah. If you need to, as a creature, which was kind of fun.
And then hopefully Blood Rush something else onto it.
Yeah.
And the reason that I always screwed that up was I left it open for playing on the defense. And I'm like, no. Only on attacks. Bad step.
And the other little side of me, and this is less aggressive, which is strange, is I like evasion. I really enjoy flyers.
Evasion is totally aggressive.
Okay, fine. Unblockable, I like.
Flying.
I love flying. I love to pepper the field with little, things like Death Touch.
It's really too
And then
bad that
fly.
you didn't play during Innistrad block because you would have loved...
Oh, the skulking with the butcher's cleavers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
the Invisible Stalker.
Yeah.
I was born at the
Stalker
wrong time,
cleaver.
man. So, yeah, that's... Yeah, I guess I just like that kind of thing. Part of my dislike for blue, and it's not all blue, because we were just talking about Simic.
Love flyers.
I like flyers, and I don't like counter. I don't like permission. I don't like not doing anything. I guess
You like interaction.
I don't like not playing Magic.
Counter spells are interactive. You're interacting with their spells. To
Sure.
stop them from doing anything.
You're just not doing anything. And I hate playing against them for the obvious reason, because you just basically sit there on your cell phone and say, let me know if something resolves, or if I'm allowed to do anything. And I'm not crazy about playing it because deep inside, I'm a really soft, squishy person, and I know how terrible it feels to feel helpless and like just that feeling of, why am I bothering playing? I can't do anything anyway, and I don't like putting that on other people.
We talked about this before,
Yeah.
and I realized something when I was re-listening to our first episode. There is a very specific time at which I love playing counter spells, and that's against control players.
Yep.
Giving them a taste of their own medicine.
Yeah, I
you.
wouldn't have as much
How do you like
trouble playing it. Also, Control tends to be longer, drawn-out games.
Which is exactly what you said you didn't
I'm
like.
not a crazy about. So that's kind of me. I prefer. I will happily play a mid-range deck. And don't get me wrong, we were talking about this off podcast. I have no issue, or maybe it was on podcast, I have no issue drafting a control deck. I know how to draft it. I have done it before. It's not my favorite thing. But if that's what is being passed and that's pretty much the choice, then I will. Mm-hmm. But
it's not your first choice?
Oh, no. No. Not at all.
Oh, that's fair.
I loved the dash deck. I still have a dash deck.
Yes, fun story. My very first F&M ever. I came to the store and everybody said, "Oh, another female gamer. You should know Tams. You should be introduced to her because she just won last week's F&M with a red-black dash deck. She's really good."
What can I say? I loved the dash. Oh, so good. It just appeals to me on so many levels.
You and Evan both.
Yeah. And then I was a monster a few weeks ago. Steph and I were playing kitchen table Magic. I took my dash deck, which is mostly still standard, and then I threw a Soul Ring in.
Well,
just to see what would
none
happen.
Of it's standard. But...
right. It just rotated.
Yeah.
Hello, Draft Cat.
A year ago, but that's fine.
Close enough.
Yeah. So Soul Ring in a dash deck is
gross,
unfair.
Oh, that was a turn 3 Colligan?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. On dash.
How'd
so
you do
couldn't
against
even,
that?
I was playing.
He conceded after a little while.
and see, the thing was, I was playing Teamer Landfall, which is actually still standard, and should have been the aggro deck.
Right.
And would have been if not for the stinking Soul Ring.
Well, you should try putting your own Soul Ring in and seeing how that works.
But I was playing standard, kind of.
I was playing kitchen table Magic. I didn't get the memo.
Is the reason I don't play standard.
I was just curious, so.
Experiment successful.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right, So Step, tell us about midrange.
Really? Midrange goes before control? I guess it does. Fair enough. You're going in play order?
Yeah, I'm going by my notes, to be honest.
I see. Well, there does seem to be a draft cat on the table.
There's literally Salem lying on the table in front of Laura and I.
He's half on the table.
Well, his back paws are on her lap.
And he really needs a bath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the reason I love midrange, and I think we talked about this, and Tams, you touched on it, is that I love to pivot. I love to do whatever my opponent is doing, but better. Mm-hmm. So, or alternatively, do the opposite of what my opponent is doing. So, okay, your control, I'm going to be a little bit faster. Oh, you're aggressive. How do you like a 3-4? You know? Mm. And like I just said, if I can side into counter spells to counter the one win con that's in that control deck, then I feel great. Because they can kill all my creatures, but then they're one win con unless it's Ugin in the Silumgar? Was it Silumgar in Ugin's?
That's the one who stole a permanent?
In the Dragon's deck that you could get back like 5 different ways.
Get back how?
It was one of the Ugin lands.
Oh yeah, like the temple or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you bring back dragons? Yeah.
That was
that
annoying.
or Ojidai.
Right. That was annoying. Except my secret sideboard tech against that was Crux of Fate, which destroyed all dragons.
Yeah. So what has been your favorite set for mid-range play?
Ooh.
Because there have been
Triple
sets
Theros?
that have been really more tailored to like aggro decks.
Triple Theros was funny because everyone was calling mid-range decks aggro decks in Theros because they felt aggressive when really they were like Voltron up one of my heroic guys. And the greatest way to deal with that is just to have things that are a little bit bigger the whole way along. So that's where mid-range really shone. Khans of Tarkir 2 was a format that was all over the place. And in that, actually, the secret pet deck that everyone now loves to draft in flashbacks was basically a mid-range combo deck because you're making your morphs a little bigger than the other guys and keeping them around with secret plans, right?
Really? I always heard the secret deck to play in that was Goblin Slide.
That was fun too.
Only if you're LSV. Other than that,
So Tams,
don't really remember.
The Agro player says that she enjoys aggro, likes midrange, doesn't like control. As a midrange player, do you have strong feelings about playing control or playing aggro decks? He's taking pictures of Draft Cat.
I'm sorry.
I asked him to because I'm going to post it
We can also
with the podcast.
edit out this little chunk in the middle.
But we won't because I mean,
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
My
That's work for
question
me.
was, do you have strong feelings about playing aggro or control decks like Tams doesn't like playing control?
Well, no, I side more towards aggro, I think, because I can't even say that, because when I'm in a format where I think control is the right way to go, then...
Like when you're drafting Kiki Jiki combo?
Yeah, well, that was fun. I understand the difference in play strategy between aggro and control, being that control gives you more options, whereas aggro means that your decisions are more important.
Sure.
But I guess part of loving mid-range is because I love to pivot. That also keys on drafting what's open. So if control is the best deck available, I'll play control. If aggro is the best deck available, I'll play aggro. Or if I'm just feeling goofy, then I'll let my inner Johnny loose and lose, usually. But yeah, that's
kind of where you
an
sit.
interesting picture. Yeah, that's just kind of where I sit, right in the middle.
Which is funny, because you are right on the right.
Yeah, well, actually, it's similar to the way I play Dungeons and Dragons, which is I'll play whatever the party needs. You know, I love to fill in holes. So whatever the best way to victory is, that's where I want to be.
Right.
So how about you?
Yes.
Control player?
So my very first baby's first standard deck when I first started was just straight up blue-white heroic.
Oh, nice.
Because it was cheap
Yep.
and good. So I spent an afternoon and about $20 just going around to the magic shops in town, put most of it together, and then did fine with it.
And that was the one that everyone called aggro, but was really more mid-range, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, like, you had God's Willing in there, you had a couple of counter spells, you had interesting decisions to make simply because of the way that heroic works as a mechanic.
Yep.
And because Esper Dragons was very popular at the time. And because we had a couple of players who really enjoyed playing Counterburn with like Pyromancer's Goggles and the white monk from Fates that let you rebuy spells and give your spells lifelink and stuff like that.
Soulfire Grandmaster.
That's the one I mean. And things like
Good card.
It's a very good card. So anyways, it was a very interesting time, and because I didn't have too much experience, it was a pretty good way to kind of dive in, I guess.
Man, I forgot how fun Standard was when Theros was still around and Dragons was in...
Yeah. It was good time. Especially at our store, there was a lot of jank decks going around. It was pretty good. So that was kind of my first experience with it, and I think I didn't really realize how strongly Control calls to me as a player until I started playing Cube. Because when you're drafting, especially for the last couple of draft sets, like in Magic Origins, where I started drafting, Control is literally not a thing.
Yeah, it
basically.
was not possible.
So it wasn't until I started playing Cube that I actually started, getting to play all the card draw spells, getting to see counter spells being used, really. Even just like something like Force Spike. Not something you see in Standard.
No, that's the kind of counter spell that I really, really like.
Yeah.
I think my favorite one is the Blue X counter spell.
Clash of Wills?
Clash of Wills.
Sure. And that is in Standard, actually.
Not
or
only,
was in Standard. I think it was in Origins.
It was in Origins. Not only because it is super flavorful for what it does.
Sure.
It's just like, can you pay more mana than me? No. But because... mana leaks call to me in a gotcha way.
Sure.
I can get you. You didn't hold up an extra 3 mana, then I got you.
Yeah, because you can play around them Not too hard if you know to do so.
And they're also the counter spells that I dislike the least playing against, because I can be like, do I need to leave this up? Yeah, I need to wait one more turn.
Right.
And then my opponent's like, crap.
As opposed to just, here is literal counterspell. I hope you have a counterspell of your own.
Right.
Sure. So I think that was, like, cubing was really my first experience playing Control, because, like I said, I wasn't playing it in Standard at the time. Yeah. My first real experience playing Agro, aside from the entire draft format that was Origins, was, I think it was the Oath of the Gatewatch League that we had. My pool that I opened up was an incredibly solid red-white aggro deck. Like, just straight out of the box, that's what my deck wanted to do. So, being that I also like to draft, or, create the deck that is open for me when there are prizes on the line, like there is at an opening tournament of our league, that's what I did. So I played red-white for the entire league. And by the end of it, I wanted to set it on fire.
You were just sick of it?
I hated it. I literally, when we got to the top 8 tournament, the person I was playing against, I was like, I desperately want you to beat me so I can stop playing this deck. And it just, I that's when I realized how much I hate aggro. I really don't like doing it. I don't find it fun. I don't find it very interesting. I don't enjoy the decisions that you have to make when playing it. I don't enjoy the feeling that as soon as it gets past turn 6, I'm just going to lose the game. When I'm playing Control, I'm like, oh, well, I know I can destroy into this big answer, or this big threat, or I have card draw, or I have board wipes, or I have all of these things that if I'm behind can get me ahead. But when you're playing aggro, if you get behind, you just lose the game.
It's funny, because now that you mention it, I think aggro decks are the only ones that, if given a choice between playing an aggro deck and not playing Magic, depending on my mood, I'd be like, nah, I think I'm good right now.
Right.
But when I want to play aggro, it's like wanting to crack a beer and just, chill. And I'll play an aggro deck until I've had my fill. Like playing Cube and going, yeah, I feel like mono red. I'll go and draft a mono red and love it.
Sure.
And then be done. Whereas with Control, I'll be like, I'm going to have to think. Yeah, okay, I still want to play. Right. I will always play Magic if I'm playing midrange. I will almost always play Magic when I'm playing Control. I will mostly play Magic when I'm playing aggro, unless I would prefer to do something else, which is very rare.
Sure. So I just think it's interesting, Tams, that you and I, we have a lot of similar opinions on other things, even about Magic, but we are literally the opposite when it comes to this. Because I think that if you were given the choice of playing a Control deck or setting it on fire, you would rather set it on fire.
Generally, unless I was playing Riley.
Sure.
Then I would play it just for the laws.
One of the best Cube experiences I've ever had was playing the Control matchup where, what's it? Orb?
Winter Orb?
Winter Orb came out on turn 2.
Yeah, this is the Modern Masters draft that you guys did, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is going to be a game.
Right, whereas I've also played... Riley and I play together in Cube a lot because he will also come out to the shop to do it, and we always end up playing against each other, and we usually have similar decks. We had a very interesting one where his deck had Ugin and my deck had Nicole Bolas, so of course we were gearing up for a showdown, and then there were smokestacks involved. I ended up winning because I happened to have a Force Spike when he finally top decked the land that he needed to play as Garrick so that he could try and gain some life off of killing a creature. It was a great game. Cube just leads to some sweet games.
Winter Orb. That's the one that got cast against me. It
is the one that got cast.
Snap conceded.
This is how I deal with Winter Orb. I'm like, concede. Game 3.
If I were playing your deck, I probably would have done the same.
Yes.
The time when Winter Orb came out on turn 2, I was also playing a long jank control deck.
Fair enough.
I could draw a bunch of cards.
Yeah. I'm just like, no, I'm not sitting here for the next 40 minutes.
This is probably not the last time I'm going to tell this story on this podcast.
I'm sure.
But where else are you going to have Riley's deck? He cast Fact or Fiction twice, and took 2 land both times because of Winter Orb.
And who won that game, Stout?
I did.
How?
He decked himself. No, actually I swung in but he was like 2 or 3 cards off from decking himself. And there are few experiences more satisfying than watching a control player deck themselves.
Yeah, that's pretty fun. So let me ask you something. Is there any kind of control deck that you don't particularly enjoy playing? Is there any mechanic or situation in which you're like, not really my favorite?
I mean, I don't love prison decks. I will absolutely play them, though.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, here's my next question. For people coming to the game, what do you think is the easiest archetype for new players to kind of get, grasp, or play within?
Midrange.
That's what I was going to say.
It's any curve strategy. So you think aggro is where players would want to start, but a true aggro deck is so... Every decision is so important.
It's very skill testing to build a good aggro deck.
And a true aggro deck is not a curve deck. A true aggro deck is like a wall of 2 drops and then remove
some 1 drops, yeah.
You know? Whereas a mid-range deck is that nice curve from 2 up to 5 or 6, you know? And that's where most players should probably start.
Absolutely. And that's what people tend to draft is in most formats, because that is, at least recently, the deck that is generally supported in draft.
Yep.
Well, also because people are going to see, oh, look, that thing has a big butt, and it's really cool. I'll take that. Oh, but look at that little 2-drop is a little 2. So people, I think the game is designed, which I think is really clever, to draw in the new players to the kind of archetype that is the easiest to play within, which I think is pretty cool.
You know what's funny? The first deck that I drafted, or not drafted, that I put together, constructed kitchen table, when I came back to the game, aside from the infect deck that I had to fix.
Yes.
The first deck that I put together myself, I called it the Wall. And it was mono blue walls. And Psychic Venom, and things that damaged an opponent when they tapped land and did stuff. So that is like the epitome of bad control.
Yes.
You know what's really funny? The first deck that I constructed when I came back to Magic and was constructing my own kitchen table deck was a Simic Evolve deck.
Yeah, that's...
with counter spells and walls.
That's still pretty aggressive. Like,
sort of.
Can be. A lot of the evolved creatures have some sort of evasion on them.
It's like aggro control, though, because you're like, drop some creatures and counter all your...
Yeah.
And hide behind my wall. Yeah.
You know what I think is interesting now that I think about it? I have to say that probably my most favorite draft format, and definitely the one that I drafted the most, was the Shadows over Innistrad blocks. And I think the reason is because you could draft control. I drafted a number of black-green delirium control long game grindy decks, and I had a lot of fun doing it.
This is a sad story. I missed Innistrad block, the original Innistrad block, by about, 6 months. Because I didn't draft or any of that stuff. I was playing kitchen table through all of it, and I didn't buy new cards. And then I missed all of Shadows over Innistrad block because I couldn't afford to play Magic. And horror is one of my favorite things.
Me too.
Especially real horror, like not slasher films, but anything that gives you a creeping... visceral sense of unease,
like eldritch horror type of universal horror,
like gothic or eldritch horror. And so I couldn't play any of it, and that makes me really, really sad.
Well, you know what you should do?
Draft it online.
No, see if our store owner happens to have some for a flashback draft, because he does that when there's enough interest. If you get 5 other people, because I would definitely do it, then you can.
I don't think he'd be able to get a hold of a box of Innistrad.
Might still have... No, I mean the Shadows.
Shadows, maybe.
Because he might still have some packs. I'm pretty sure he does.
That would be sweet.
I'm definitely going to draft it online sometime because it's still available online. But yeah, I'd love to do a paper draft.
So if he's listening to this podcast, which he probably is,
Done.
do you have any packs? We'd really love to do that.
You've got at least 2, 3?
Three.
3 interested parties.
I can think of 2 or 3 other people. It'd be
Yeah,
super fun.
it was a very fun block to draft, just because there were viable strategies in all 3 of the archetypes.
And I would be totally willing to do a triple shadows and then an Eldritch Moon directly after.
Okay, I have a very important question about this, though.
Okay.
I want to know about a format and if it's supported.
Is the format Laura opening up 4 Avacins again?
No.
Because I would get on board with that.
No. The format is, can you draft hats? Like you could the original.
No,
Not enough hats?
I think...
You could draft tentacles.
Yeah, like...
That did work.
Loading Ready Run tried it, and the hats just weren't there.
That makes me sad, because they're
The hats have all
Innistrad.
been devoured by the...
Hat draft was classic and amazing.
And again, like Werewolves from the original Innistrad was a deck that really interested me because, they're completely mid-range.
Yeah.
You know?
So,
Anyway.
yeah.
We spent a good hour talking about Magic.
We prattled
That's
on.
the plan.
But we will we'll come back again next week and have more interesting things to talk about, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Certainly we can report back on how the Modern Masters went.
The league
And the
finals.
league.
And the league finals,
We'll have our
yes.
finals in league. So in the meantime, check out our videos on Card Advantage MTG.
The links will be in the description below.
Yep.
And maybe we can convince Laura to come draft with us sometime.
What, here?
Yeah, online.
Oh, yeah, you'll really have to twist my arm.
Yeah, right?
I think that'd be awesome. So,
Anyway,
yeah. So
that's it for now.
we will talk to you next week.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening.
See ya.
Bye.
Where's the moose? Where's the moose?
The moose.
There it is.